Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mastering the Walk Back to Basic Style. So, real quick story, guys. Last week I did the seminar live in front of a studio audience. I tried to go live, but there was a big problem with the audio. So, I decided to give the same exact seminar live to people online across the country, across the world. So, if you can do me a big favor, shoot me a comment. Let me know you're watching. Let me know where you're watching from. We're going to get going in a few seconds on this platform that I really, really hope and pray will help you guys. I know it can. If you want to have that calm, relaxing walk with your dog. So, with that being said, I'm going to go right into the presentation. I will be looking at questions periodically throughout the night through the slides, especially after each one of the sessions. So again, remember, if you're joining me, shoot me a comment. Let me know you're watching, where you're watching from. That'll do me a lot of good and keep me motivated throughout the evening while I do this seminar for you. Hello, Kinga. I hope I said that right, from South Carolina. Welcome. And we're going to jump right into it. First of all, I'm going to give a quick introduction on myself. My name is Leon. I am the trainer here at Back to Basics Dog Training, the owner of the company. And it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to work with dogs for the better part of 40 years. And over the 40 years, I think I've come up with a great system that can help us all have that bonding experience with our dogs, which is mastering the walk back to basic style. There is nothing more enjoyable to me than walking with my dog. I don't like walking a dog, it's too much work. So I've come up with this system over 40 plus years of doing this to, and now I want to share it with the world. So with that, we're going to put the slideshow up here. I hope this all works out the way I want. I will be definitely keeping an eye on the comments, guys. So Ken, keep popping your name in there. Let me know you're watching. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you have any questions, after each section, I will stop to answer questions. So please don't think me rude for not answering the questions right away, but I will get to every single question. So here's the slideshow, guys. The first step in having a happy, balanced, packed life between your human family and your dogs. And I do truly believe that. I got to switch this out so I can hopefully do the slideshow right for you guys. So, a little introduction. Welcome, everybody, to the Master of the Walk seminar. I already introduced myself. Uh, really, growing up on the east end of Long Island, I had the honor and privilege of observing dogs in their natural environment. What do I mean by that? When I grew up, where I grew up, it was farmland. I got to see dogs naturally in their environment, not necessarily in the home. They were farm dogs. They lived in they ran the fields. They helped the farmers. It was a totally different world back then, but I got to see them naturally, and it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. And like I said, for the better part of 40 years, I've been teaching people how to have that happy, balanced dog, not only that they want, but their dogs truly need. So the beauty of learning how to master the walk, it gives you a way to bond with your dog in a happy, peaceful, calm way. And that's why I do this. So it's my pleasure to bring this to you tonight. Thank you for joining me. And like I stated, I will answer questions after each section. So before I get into this is a video, and I am going to actually bounce back and forth after I do this video, because I have a question for you guys. After watching this video, I'd love to see in the comments how many of you people experience walking your dog very similar to this little boy here, Brody. As you can see, the way Brody's walking is he's all over the place, twisting up mom, dragging, running back and forth. How many of you experience walking your dog like this? And she's trying to make corrections, and you can see it, but Bodie is actually doing what he wants. And here at the very end, watch what happens. Boom, he drags her, almost knocks her down. So again, guys, how many of you have experienced a dog that walks like that, or your own dog walks that way? Sandra says she does. So this wonderful family that I had the privilege of working with Bodie and his brother behind him, who was a much better walker. Bodie was a handful. We did basically a session on what we're going to be talking about this evening. So I'm going to show you a video they sent me. It was approximately a month after this video, and we taped this video. The next video is about a month later, and I'd like you to see this, and then I'll ask you the question of how much better would this be? As you can see, no leash. She dropped the leash. He's staying right with her. He's looking at her for guidance. She stopped. He should have stopped a little sooner, but she regrouped. She got him to sit, and they continue. No leash, no nothing. And he sat on his own, so he got it really quick. How many of you would like that experience on, in the near future walking your dogs? And that's what this seminar is about, guys. It's about helping you guys have that experience. Um, yeah, it was night and day. And when I first met the family, they didn't think there was a chance. They did not think it was a chance, and they followed my 5 simple steps to mastering the walk, and they practiced it day in day out. Till a month later, this is the end result. So we're going to get into the first part of the 5 steps, and like I said, after every part, I'm going to stop to answer any of your questions. So we're going to bounce a little bit now. So we're going to go to the 5 stages. These are the 5 stages I decided to implement the walk. And the first one is very simple, putting the leash on the dog. That is crucial. That's stage one. Because if you can't put the leash on the dog, you can't go anywhere anyway. The next one is threshold management. I'm going to put a little note on threshold management. It is the most important part of mastering the walk, and I'll get into that when I hit stage 2. Stage 3 is the structure of the walk, and if you notice, I put in parentheses classroom. And again, I'm going to get into a lot more detail when I hit episode 3, but there's a reason for the classroom. The next one is recess. And if you start noticing a trend here, recess is exactly what it sounds like, and then returning home, which is back to classroom. So, taking out the leash. First thing I always tell people to do is the mistakes that we make is we don't check our own energy. We go to our dogs. You want to go for a walk? You want to go for a walk? We get them all excited for the walk. You can't start your walk off excited, because if you start your walk off excited, that's what happened with Bodie. He was excited from the moment he saw that leash. He got very, very excited. And they actually played the game with him, chasing him around. And I don't know if you guys see me right now or you just see the screen. I'm not even sure. So if somebody can actually put it in the comments, if you're seeing me when I'm doing this PowerPoint, I'm not sure how that works because this is all new. But he was so excited, they actually played the game. They were chasing him around the house or the yard to try to put the leash on the dog. That level of excitement is so high, you cannot have a good walk. So, and the next thing is, and I asked that question, is your dog super excited? If it is, stop. Don't play the game. Don't chase your dog. Wait them out. Sit down. Make them come to you. Make them sit. Now you have their attention. You could put the leash on the dog in a calm way. It's a better way to do this. Also, if your dog is scared or unsure when they see the leash, because I've seen that happen where dogs see that leash and they go hiding. Don't put the leash on the dog and force the dog to do something. We never want to force the dog to do something they don't want to do. We have to guide them and take them on the journey with us to understand that, hey, when we do this, it's a good thing. So if they're scared, take the time, have them come over to you, have them sit, pet them with the leash. Don't put the leash on, just let them be around the leash and let them get used to just seeing the leash. The leash doesn't mean anything. It's a tool, guys. If your dog is sitting calmly, you can go. Okay, so now we got the leash on the dog, and you have to use your imagination because unfortunately this live platform, I don't have the ability to show you what I'm talking about. But we have the dog on the leash. We're sitting calmly. We get up to start walking towards the door. If your dog drags you to the door at that point, because the excitement level takes over and it flies on you, we cannot continue the walk. We have to actually stop and bring the dog back. So what I'll tell you to do is when you stand up and you start that walk to the door, if the dog takes off, paint an imaginary X where this discipline started, and you bring the dog back to that imaginary X where you started that first step. Make them sit, give them something else to do, and when you think their state of mind is calm, take the next step to the door. If they rush towards the door again, they go back to the imaginary X and we start this over. But most importantly, and you can see, I say in step one of this is check your energy. You need to be calm in order for your dog to be calm. They're going to read your energy, guys. And I know this for a fact. Dogs understand our energy. Anybody who follows me on my Saturday morning lives know I talk about energy all day long. If the dog bolts, we stop, we bring them back, and we get them to understand that process of walking to the door has to be calm. So once we can get to the door, that's great. That's when threshold management takes over. So, like I said, I'm going to stop after every stage and ask you if you have any questions. Do you have any questions on those 5 steps of just getting the leash on the dog? If you do, please put them in the comments. And if you joined us late, please put in a comment. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're watching from. Again, that does wonders for me. It keeps my motivation going when I see people, you know, interacting on this platform. So if you guys can please put your comments in, let me know where you're watching from. If there's no questions on this, guys, I'm going to go to threshold management. Like I stated, hi Jill. Jill knows what I'm talking about threshold management. Um, Threshold management to me, guys, and we're going to that slide right now. And here it is, the most important part of the walk. Reason being is we can get a lot of dogs to walk calmly to the door, but once they get and they see the outside world, they get so stimulated. Because think about what's out there. There's leaves out there. There's bunnies out there. There's squirrels. There's people. There's dogs. There's people riding bicycles. There's cars. There's this. And they're all over the place. And if you can't control that threshold, that doorway, you cannot have a good walk. Because if your dog is so excited at that point, imagine what's going to happen when they see the other stimulus out there. So you have to make them understand that the threshold represents calm. Couple of things I tell people about threshold management. Threshold management is crucial in the dog's world. It it's twofold. It's for the walk, but it also teaches them, which is one of the most important lessons that we can ever teach our dogs, is that front door open doesn't mean out. And the reason I stress that, and I'm very um, emotional, or I don't know the right words to say about it, is because we know as humans that if you have that dog that's at escape artist every time that front door is open, you're worried about it bolting out. We know the consequences. So why don't we teach the dog that it's not okay to go out through that threshold? Um, Hi, Chris from New York. Hello, Mary. Um, so it's so important. So please, I'm going to talk about each one of these steps. I'm going to go into detail about threshold management. The other thing I'm going to tell you about threshold management, and I want to make sure people understand it. This part is so crucial to the walk, the successful walk of your dog. To have that happy, calm, balanced walk that we all want. If you have an hour dedicated to your walk, and it takes you 45 minutes to get out the door the right way, the way I'm going to describe it to you, your walk is 15 minutes, guys, because it's that important. So the next step is your dog dragging you to the door? We spoke about this. We have to stop or through the door. So we get to the door. Here's how the routine should look. Most people have a decorative door. Some people have a storm door. The door's shut. We get the dog to our door. You want to put them in a position where you can open up the door comfortably without worried about hitting the dog and hitting yourself with the door. So you want to make sure your dog's in a position where you can hold the leash firmly, not with tension, just hold the handle, having the dog sit at the door. So you can open up the door calmly. If you touch the doorknob and your dog gets excited, you stop. That imaginary X is now here. We put the dog back to that imaginary X and we try to open up the doorknob again when we think they're calm. To the point where we can open the door. Once the door is open, now if you have a storm door, you have to repeat the process. If what I would like to see you do is you open up the door, you step out onto the front stoop, you're holding the leash, but your dog is still inside. If your dog gets out without your release command and tries to go outside before you, no, you're going to correct your dog, Bring them back to that imaginary X. They're not allowed to come out through that door until you invite them out. But what I want you to look at, because 99.9% of the dogs out there are pretty obedient. When you tell them to sit, they'll sit. Sitting is obedience. The state of mind is behavioral. So if your dog is sitting there looking around you and not paying attention to you, the state of mind is somewhere else. It's not calm because it's trying to see what's out there. What's out there? I want to see the bunny. I want to see this. I want to see that. You can't invite them out until they look at you for guidance. And once they look at you for guidance, that means their mind has come down a little bit. You can invite them out. If they walk out like ladies and gentlemen, great. If they bolt out at 700 miles an hour, they come back into the imaginary X and you start over. So if your dog is sitting calmly and looking at you for guidance, go ahead, go for your walk. But it's so important that they walk out through that door like ladies and gentlemen, not like a bull released from the chute. So again, guys, threshold management is so crucial. I have hammered this out with so many people, and I take threshold management to another level. I tell you to control any access to the outside world using this technique. So what do I mean by that? Your front door, your back door, your side doors, your door leading from the house into your garage, from the garage door to your driveway, your gates if you have a gated backyard. Because how many times do we read on Facebook, it was windy out, I let my dog out, the gate blew open, my dog disappeared. Well, if you teach them that they're not allowed to go through these thresholds without permission, guess what happens? They don't disappear. Because they'll get there and they'll be like, well, I'm not allowed out. It takes time, takes a lot of patience, but it works. So if your dog is overly excited just getting out the front door, how can you expect to have a good walk? So again, guys, I'm at the end of this part of it. I will go into more details, of course, if people want me to. If you have any questions on either stage one or stage two, please put your questions in. You can put your questions in as I'm talking about it, the stage. I will get to them after we finish the stage, if that makes sense. If there's no questions, we're going to continue on. But I really want you guys to understand how important threshold management is. It is the most crucial part of the walk. I can't stress that enough. It will, couple things again, stop your shoulder from being dislocated. And if you do threshold management right, you don't have to worry about your dog bolting out when somebody comes in through the front door. So please focus on threshold management. So now we'll go back to our slideshow. And now we're talking about the structure of the walk. The walk that I designed, Mastering the Walk Back to Basic Style, is about two predominant things in the dog's world. It's about structure and leadership. It is so crucial in the dog world that we give them that structure and leadership. They're looking for it, they need it for survival, and we don't want them to decide the structure, and we definitely don't want them to take the leadership role, because that's when I get those calls that something bad happened. So structure is so important. And the reason I refer to and put it in parentheses the schools, because I want you guys to go back in your memory banks and think about elementary school. If you remember how elementary school was set up, it was set up for classroom, lunch/recess, classroom. So 2/3 of your day was about classroom, using your brain, focusing. And when I went to school, we knew our jobs in school. We were supposed to sit at our desks and pay attention to what the teacher said. That is being a good student. That was being a respectful student, but it was also understanding our role. We were not only obedient, but we behaved. But we all had that kid in our class that would be looking out the window, flapping Joni's ponytails. He was obedient because he sat at his desk, but he wasn't behaving because his mind wasn't focused. So this is about focus. This is focused on you. You're the teacher of the dog. The dog should be at his desk following your directions. So at this point, you're going to want to keep the leash short. The first part of the walk. So I'm going to use my magic hour for walking. So if you have an hour for walk, the first 20 minutes is about traveling. It's about going from point A to point B. So you keep the leash short. Your dog should not be able to, at this point, sniff the ground, drag you to the mailbox, the fence post, the fire hydrant, whatever, to go smell. No, we're traveling. We're going from point A to point B. We're taking a road trip. We're not stopping at every scenic overview because we're never going to get where we want to go. So what you do is you keep the leash short. You should be able to feel your dog try to. You feel your dog trying to sniff the ground, or God forbid, on garbage day, picking up a chicken bone that fell out of the garbage. This is why it's important to keep the short leash. If you feel your dog trying to do that, you can say no because we're traveling. We're going somewhere. Now, guys, I'm saying we're not letting them to smell the ground. We're not letting them drag you. If you live in an apartment or a place where you have to go out because to for the walk for the bathroom, you're going to have to change the structure of this a little bit because let's face it, first thing in the morning, dog's got to go out and go to the bathroom. So we're going to change the structure of it a little bit. Anybody wants a little bit more details on that? I'd be happy to answer those separately. So you keep the leash short. I say to always check your surroundings. Reason being is if you're in the process of training your dog because your dog needs to learn to walk better, but you see Fido and his master down the block and you know Fido's a little bit out of control, go the other way until you master the walk. Because if Fido's energy is way off, it's going to change your dog's energy. Everything's going to change. And I really want you to have that calm, relaxing walk. And that wouldn't be the time for that. There'll be a time for that once you master the walk. Because if you master the walk right, then your dog won't react no matter what Fido does down the block. So always check your surroundings. Look around, see what's going on. Okay, I'm going. Another reason I say check your surroundings is you want to change up your route. Don't always do the same thing. It gets boring. Um, Relax and breathe. And this sounds totally cliche, guys, but you'd be amazed how many people forget to relax when they walk the dog. When I walk with a dog, I always say the part of my hand that's closest to the collar of the dog, it my hand should be so relaxed. It's like walking down the street holding my wife's hand. You need to be that relaxed. When you walk without a dog, your arms are to your side, your arms are moving a little bit, your head's up, your chest is out. Don't wrap the leash around your wrist a million times. Don't hold your arms out in a 90-degree angle, walking like a robot. That's not relaxed, and your dog will read that energy through the leash, through you, and say, well, if you're tense, I need to be tense. And remember to breathe. Breathing is important, guys. Take a deep breath and go. At this point of the walk, this first 20 minutes, it's all about structure. No sniffing the ground, no zigzagging like what we saw Bodie doing in the beginning. It's not even really about going to the bathroom at this point. As long as you're not using, like I said earlier, as long as you don't need to take the dog for the walk for the bathroom. And that's what I talk about structure. It's being in class. My little guy always pulls the whole time he has muscles. Yeah, well, Mary, what you want to do is definitely master threshold management because when they're pulling, it's because they're excited. And then what we do is we hold back on that leash. And if you understand what I'm saying, we're pulling back on that leash, which is actually creating the dog to try to pull harder because psychologically is. And if you did it to me, if you grab the back of my shirt, I'm going to pull foot to try to get away. So if you're pulling your dog and trying to hold your dog back, you're actually creating the opposite of what you really want, guys. And I know that sounds weird and really dopey, probably, but that's reality. So, but if you master the threshold, getting out through that front door, and when I say front door, it's whatever door you're going to go out to the world in, if you can have them learn how to walk through that threshold, like ladies and gentlemen, you're ahead of the game. If they're excited at that door, it's almost impossible because if you can't control that excitement in your home and at that threshold, how can you expect to control it in the outside world? The excitement level, the stimulus is so much more on the outside. Like I said earlier, you've got smells of bunnies, birds, whatever, squirrels, people, food, this, that, the other thing. This time of year, It's fall, leaves are falling. Oh my God, that's such an exciting thing to a dog that they go nutty. But that's because they're starting out excited. And if you looked at the video I posted before, Bodie, that was Bodie. Bodie bolted through the front door. Well, they used the gate, through the gate. And guys, if you want, and I'll put the links up here afterwards on the Facebook pages. Um, on my YouTube channel, I actually have the videotape of that whole entire training session with Bodie up there for you to watch. It's free. Free is always good. Um, so it it's up there, but it started at the threshold. Does that make sense, Mary? Because that is so crucial. If you can master that threshold, you'll see some of that pulling stops. And guys, when I say I would love to see people walk their dogs for an hour at a time, I really would. I'm a realist. What I want you to do is though have a successful walk. So if you can get that successful walk from your front door to the end of your driveway and you have a success with it, and that's all you got to do that day, turn around and go back. And then maybe the next time go to the end of the driveway and just go to the corner of your house and come back. Do things in baby steps. Don't try to do everything I'm going to teach you tonight the first time. It's not going to happen. And you'll get disappointed and you get frustrated with the process. And I never want you to get disappointed or frustrated with the process. So if you do these steps, master putting a leash on your dog. That's enough for one day. Master the threshold management. That's enough for what? Because remember, front door open doesn't mean out. Leash on doesn't mean walk. You can just do that threshold management for 3 or 4 days in a row. That's okay. Because you really want to get that into their system. And even the structure of the walk could be just from my front door to the end of the driveway and back. And if it's successful, yes, because your dog is going to read that you are so happy with your energy. And they're going to want to do it again because they're going to want to make you happy. And that's what it's about, guys. So we're going to go on to I got to put that screen back up, to recess. What do I mean by recess? This is when you can give the full leash to the dog. So you have a 6-foot leash, you can give the dog the full 6-foot leash. Let them have some fun. This is when the dog is allowed to sniff the ground and if needed, relieve themselves. So now they're allowed to smell, pee, poop, do whatever they want to do within reason. And I'll get to the reasoning and what I mean by that in a second. But I do have to do a public service announcement at this point, guys. If your dog poops in public, please clean up after it. That's my public service announcement because that's one of the biggest things that annoys me when I walk with my dog and I have to walk around other people's dog pooping. So, like I said, at this point, we can give the dog the full leash. They can smell, pee, poop, do whatever they want to do within reason. What do I mean by within reason? And I use the term recess for a reason. When we were in school, we got recess. There was always recess monitors outside with us. Why? Because there were still rules during recess, but not as strict as they were in classroom. So the recess monitor was out there to make sure our play didn't get too rough, or somebody didn't pull Janie's ponytails, or I didn't get into a pushing and shoving match over, I want the ball, no, you want the ball, no, I want the ball. And they were there, they'd blow the whistle. So what do I mean by that for the dog? They're not allowed to take my arm out of the socket, even though I'm giving them some freedom. So if I feel too much tension on my leash, the whistle's going to blow, which in my case would be a simple leash pop with my no. So the dog understands you're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to pull my arm out of the socket. So it's still freedom, but with rules. Also, part of this is you can make 2 decisions during this recess period. You can follow the dog because you made the decision. Or you can plant your feet on the ground and give them whatever radius there is. There's actually a third decision you can make on recess, which is if you choose not to and your dog doesn't need it for the bathroom break or you just don't feel like doing it, you don't have to give recess. You can do the whole hour walk structure, which is really good for the dog, and especially when they're in learning stage. If you have the opportunity to have a yard and let them out and do their business out there before the walk, You can do full structure. You don't have to give recess if you choose not to. So when recess is over, though, guys, please don't ask your dog if it's okay to go home. And people laugh at me when I say this, but I've seen it. I've seen it with Bodie. Bodie, are you done? You ready to go home? You ready to go home? Well, reality, guys, if they would ask me during recess if I wanted to go back from class, the answer would have been no. No, the bell sounds, we line up, we go back to class. So what do I mean for that, for the dog? When you decide that recess is over, the 20 minutes of recess is over, you just shorten up the leash and you go back home with the same structure you left with. So again, guys, let me know if that makes sense. Laura says, I have a rescue that suffers from anxiety and views the house as her safe haven. She gets excited to leave on a walk, but then gets spooked at everything that's similar. Absolutely. Car, a person, a voice, other animals, the wind blowing. She then starts starting and pulling me back to the home out of fear. It's not fear of other dogs who of my other dogs who were trained perfectly to walk on the leash. I tried walking them separately. How do I conquer this? I just want to walk them both and enjoy the walk. Okay, so again, it all comes to your own confidence. And this is going to be hard, guys, and just bear with me while I go through this process. So it sounds like she gets excited. She's ready to go for the walk, and then she gets outside and a leaf falls, and she gets spooked, and she goes like this. Well, a couple things we need to do as humans is one, not tell her it's okay and soothe her in that state of mind. Remember, guys, when I talk about training, I'm not talking about anything but state of mind. So if you soothe her and tell her it's okay, it's only a leaf or a car or a person or whatever, you're actually reinforcing the unsure state of mind. So one thing I would definitely say is make sure you have a safe tool that you're working with so she can't slip out of it, it can't choke her, it can't hurt her. So something that's very safe. Um, but then what you want to do is apply slight leash pressure. She's on a lock up. Um, and when she locks up, you apply a little bit more pressure going the other way. So she's going to put a foot and a half pound pressure going this way. You need to hold 2 pounds of pressure going this way. And then once you get any motion, I don't care if it's sideways, backwards, forward, whatever, you release that tension right away. Good girl, let's go. And then you try to do it again. And you just keep doing it because what happens is, for whatever reason, her brain is getting locked. So if you drag her, you're not helping her. If you let her retreat, you're not helping her. If you're soothing her, you're not helping her. So what we need to do is unlock the brain in a more positive way. You can use high value treats to help you with this, but if she's that shut down, she may not take the treats. So what I always do when I deal with these, my instincts tell me I just apply a little bit more pressure going the other way. And as soon as I get any emotion, good girl, let's go. And then it may start again. But what I notice doing this is each time I have to apply that pressure, it may say start off at 30 seconds. The next time may be 25 seconds. The next time maybe 20, 10. So, oh, let's just do this. Because they're realizing, oh, as we move forward, nothing bad is happening. But I keep my energy calm. I actually go calmer the more scared they are because I need my energy to overpower their energy of being unsure. And it's really hard and it's heartbreaking to do and watch because we feel bad for them. And I understand that, guys, because I love dogs. But I also know if I keep them stuck in that state of mind, I'm not helping them and I'm not helping them move forward. Um, Lauren, I'm not sure where you live, but that's something that you may, if your other dog is a very well walked dog, behaved dog, um, very well trained. I've done it with my personal dogs where I've had dogs like that, where I tether the leash to the other dog and they kind of help guide. I mean, that's something you can always do again. Um, this is something that is going to take a lot of time and a lot of patience. But if you do it right, and like I said, on a case like this, okay, in a case like this, like I said, if you can just get to the end of your driveway, turn around and bring her back home, because her reward, her treat for just getting to the end of the driveway, Could be go back home in a calm way, still going back home. Don't let her drag you home because she's not in charge of any part of the walk. But if you get 3 feet from where she first locked up, you can end the walk there. Praise her, praise her, praise her. Bring her back inside and make a big deal out of what she did. Because the next day you should be able to get 6 feet. The day after that, hopefully 12 feet. And it just takes time. Also, my little guy shows aggression when on a leash towards other dogs walking. He's a rescue too. He does play dates with our friend's dog at times, and he is cool with them after he gets going. That's a lesson for an. I'll get into leash reactivity at the end of this. So if it's okay, I'll come back to that because I think once we understand that everything starts off calm, leash reactivity also does dissipate a little bit. Um, and anybody who's joining, because we're midway through right now, guys, every Saturday morning except for this Saturday, I may not be doing it at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I go online. It's called Saturday Morning Coffee with Back to Basics Dog Training. It is a free dog training sessions. Um, not just about focusing on the walk, which is what I'm working on tonight. It's I'll answer any of your questions. So it could be my dog fights with other dogs, my dog is aggressive towards people. It could be whatever, whatever, whatever. So please mark your calendars every Saturday morning for the rest of this year. Except for tomorrow, I'm not doing because I have some a prior engagement. I may be doing it later on in the day. I'll post it on my Facebook page. Um, every Saturday morning, I do this. I think starting January, I'm going to change it to during the week at night because Saturdays people want to spend with their family, not looking at this face. So let's get back to our master in the walk here. is my dog Zoe is semi-leash reactive. She does not like certain dogs on a leash. Other dogs she has no problem with. It's their energy that she reads. And I believe me, I follow all my steps when I walk Zoe. I also know enough to look for the dog's energy. And if I don't like that dog's energy, I'm not going to let Zoe anywhere near because I know it can trigger. Now, she doesn't do it like most dogs where she's barking at the end of the leash and jumping on, being on her hind leg, or barking and all this nonsense. But if the dog gets too close, she's going to give them a warning, which is not okay. She's not leash aggressive. She's just knows what the rules are and she tries to establish it. So I become careful. Leash reactivity is created because we wait for the explosion and then we try to correct our dogs. So by part of doing this master in the walk, if you remember what I said in episode 3 and 5 about a short leash, if the leash is short, you should feel your dog's energy change. What do I mean by that? 99% of the time, guys, we see that dog coming before your dog sees it because they're busy. Even if their nose is down on the ground, they're smelling things. So we see the dog coming first. So one of the biggest mistakes humans make is we start wrapping the leash around our wrists a million times and we start getting very rigid on. Then your dog just starts to say, I don't know what's going on, but there's tension. Let me find out. Oh, dog. Okay. Well, we got to learn to relax a little bit. This will be a video I hopefully will be putting out there. I'm going on a session Sunday with a dog that's very leash reactive. I'm hoping to have a videotape while I'm doing it, so I'm going to show you guys snippets of it because it's important. But getting on with what I'm saying. So what I do when I deal with a leash reactive dog like that is, okay, I see the dog. I'm going to start looking at my dog because my dog is probably going to be walking like this. Uh-oh, dog. Right there, I'm going to correct him. Right there. I'm not going to wait for the explosion because if I wait for the explosion, it's so hard to stop. So I look for the littlest sign that they're alert now. What? Whoa, dog. No, little leash pop, sit. Now I give them another job to do. And then they have to sit there calmly the whole time while that dog passes. It's not about interacting on the leash. It's not about smelling each other. No, this is on one side of the street, you're on the other side of the street, that dog should be able to pass because there is absolutely no threat. Here's the caveat. You got to trust yourself that you can handle that. And the reason I say that is because if you don't trust yourself, how are they going to trust you? Because your energy is going to change. So when I see this other dog coming, my mind goes, yes, not oh crap. And what I do is I put myself in a position where I can control everything. Short leash, pop, no, sit. And I sit there and I try to keep myself at the calmest of calm. So my dog feels that, hey, the pack leader's calm. I don't have a threat over here. He trusts them. They pass. If the dog's not looking over its shoulder to see where they're going, good. Let's go. If they're looking, wait till they focus back on you and continue. But the biggest mistake people make with leash reactivity, guys, is they wait for the explosion to come. And if you wait for the explosion to come, it's too late to correct it. Please let me know, guys, in the comments if this makes sense. I hope this all makes sense to you guys. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to leave this information up here. So, again, anybody who's local, I'll be happy to do one-on-one private sessions for anybody. I customize each training to the individual. My contact information is up here. I'm not going to bore you with all this stuff. If anybody's on, like, Remember Me Rescues Facebook page watching me, please take a note of this. Back to Basics Dog Training SC. That is me. Because what I'm going to say to you folks right now is, after I get done with my fancy thing here, is when I'm just switching camera views here, guys. Sorry. And I got befuddled with what I was doing. Anybody who wants a copy of this slideshow that I put up there in a PDF format, please go to Back to Basics Dog Training SC. Private message me your email information. I will be happy to send you that PowerPoint presentation via the email. The only thing that's not going to be on there would be the videos. But you saw the videos, hopefully. The other thing is again, I offer every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock a free dog training session, Q&A session from 11 to 12 every Saturday morning. I think I'm going to readjust that in January, but for the rest of this year, at least, we're going to do it that way. Um, Also, for anybody who is not local to me in the Carolinas, I can do sessions via Zoom. We can do group training via Zoom, guys, and Zoom is an affordable way of doing dog training because what I teach you is the dog psychology of the dog, what the dog really wants from us, needs from us. So it's not about me physically handling your dog, it's me giving you the tools on learning how. So the Zoom is a great way to do it, face to face. You can show me the videos of your dogs, because there's ways to share screens, and I can guide you on this journey that I call dog training. But in the meantime, we went through the 5 stages of mastering the walk back to basic style. Any questions out there, guys? I'd be happy to answer them. That's why I dedicated 2 hours to this. We're only at 47 minutes, so I got a lot of time to answer questions, if there are any. I don't want to bore you people all Friday night. Um, but I really do hope the information that I gave you is going to help you. And like I said, if you would like a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, please feel, just contact me either through my Back to Basics, which is Back to Basics Dog Training SC for South Carolina, or if you're part of my personal Facebook group, Leon Davidman, on Facebook, you can always reach out to me, either one of those platforms, and I will be happy to send you that information in your, via email in a PDF format. That's fine. Um, I'm hoping to get some questions because I know I go through a lot of information. I did that pretty fast. It was only 45 minutes really for the whole seminar. I was leaving time for questions. Mary, did the leash reactivity question get answered properly? How do you feel about digital dog button? Digital? Are you talking about like an e-collar? 'Cause I don't know what digital dog button is. I mean, e-collars are digital, so I don't know if that's what you're talking about. If you are talking about e-collars, I have no problem with them personally. I think they need to be shouldn't be sold to the general public. I think they should only go through trainers that know how to properly use them. They do not replace teaching your dog calm. You need to teach your dog calm. Your energy needs to be calm in order to teach your dog calm. There is no way around that. If you're nervous at any part handling your dog, oh my God, what if I go out there and my dog's leash reactive? If I go around the corner and that dog's off leash, what am I going to do? Your energy is going to dictate what your dog does. The reason I have the success, and I don't know if any of the people I've worked with are here, where I don't see a lot of issues with dogs. Oh, a dog whistle? I never tried one. So I honestly couldn't speak about it. I'll look it up to see if I can find it and do some research on it. I'll be happy to do that. But I do think what calms a dog is you. I've had many dogs um, in my lifetime, and since I'm naturally a calm person, my dogs are calm. I'm a very calm. Anybody who's watched me on my Saturday mornings, I'm going to tell you guys the same thing. It's the 3 C's of dog training: calm, confidence equals control. That's the bottom line, guys. Calm, confidence equals control. You have to be calm. The calmer you are, the calmer your dog does. Is there any different techniques to follow when using a harness versus a collar? Okay, reality on tools. Tools work. I don't care what it is. Tools work if used properly. I am not a huge fan of harnesses. The main reason is I know what they were designed for. They were designed for tracking and pulling purposes, and that's the last thing I want on my walk. Uh, we training him from beginning for service dog initiated. I need a harness to walk. Okay, and that's fine. You can do the same thing with a harness, but keep in mind it's harder to do corrections. But if you're working with a service dog, the goal is to have a service dog. Calm is crucial. I'm not certified as service dog trainer, so I don't know how they actually go about the beginning of training with them. If they start with the harness or they start with a collar. Uh, I'll give you an example. My dog Zoe is an emotional support dog for my daughter. We have a harness. We have two harnesses for her actually. One that I use to put her in the car to seatbelt her in when she's with the family. I have another harness which is more like a vest that has the ESA on it that she only uses with my dog, with my daughter, because when she's in ESA mode, she is for my daughter. She's not my family dog. But I trained Zoe to walk on all three. I started with a collar, a martingale collar, and a slip leash. That's how I started training her for mastering the walk. Once she mastered it with the collar, it was an easy transition to the harnesses. With very because by that point she knew my nose when I said no meant something, so it was easy to transition. And here's the kicker: he walks next to you in a wheelchair, so you need the harness with the handle. That um, if he's walking next to you when you're in a wheelchair, there should absolutely be no pulling involved. I get it. Um, if there's any pulling involved, that can hurt you. Um, you could theoretically still use a collar, unless you need him to move you with the wheelchair, if that makes sense. But if he's there just to be your service dog, God forbid you drop something or something, that's a different story. But as a service dog, I know they're held to a higher standard, and it really does start with calm. Because all the tools aren't going to make a difference if we're not calm. The dogs are going to read the energy. I've seen people walk you know with the dogs on a harness and they're being dragged all over the place. I've seen them walk with collars being dragged all over the place. You know, prong collars, martingale collars. If you don't teach your dog calm to begin with, none of this works. So it's so important, guys, to really understand. Episode stage one and stage two are the most important. And the reason I said episode, another thing you guys should do, and I will put the link out there because I told you I'll put the link out there for Bodhi, the terrible walker video I have, is I also have this seminar broken down to 5 stages or 5 episodes on my YouTube channel. It's how to leash train my dog in 5 easy steps, which really shows you using my dog Zoe what I'm talking about. But it has to start off calm. So, Kinga, and if I say your name wrong, I apologize. If if your dog is not calm when you're taking out the leash and the harness, it's almost impossible for you. Calm it down there. Everything starts in the home. If you can keep him calm in the home, putting the leash on, getting to the door, getting out the door, so you can turn around and shut your door comfortably and not worry about being dragged down, you know, the ramp or however you're getting out there or the walkway. Um, it's crucial. So, again, I think in the very beginning you said your dog pulls, if I remember correctly, and I do get a little still nod here. So, I think in the very beginning was that you that said they pull. No, that was Mary. Sorry. Um, just use your harness, but you can still do control. Harnesses are important for the service dog work because I know they have the handle. Um, they are needed because you need the service dog placard on them. Biggest trigger is getting out in the door and getting in the house. Biggest trigger is getting out through the door and getting in the house. So break it down to those steps. It's real important. And that's why I said threshold management is crucial. Threshold management is going in and going out and coming back in. Both places have to be considered threshold management. Now, again, because of the wheelchair issue, you may have to allow the dog to go out first and in first. I don't know how it's set up for you. Um, if that's the case, as long as you're at the door and you're saying it's okay for them to go out in front of you, that's absolutely not an issue in my world, because you're allowing them to go out, if that makes sense. They're going out before you. You're allowing it. Once you get into a position where there's room and you can have the dog next to you on the wheelchair, then all the structure takes place. And the same thing coming back. You get up to the door, you open the door, you can allow him to go in first. Same way, if I came to your house, you may hold the door open for me to walk in first. That's okay. But they have to walk in the house. He would have to walk in the house like a gentleman, and he'd have to walk out of the house like a gentleman. If he doesn't at any time of that, you need to bring him back. And you may need help with this. Again, I don't know how the setup is space wise for you to do this. Um, if you don't mind me asking, I don't remember if you told me where you were watching from. Um, oh, you're in South Carolina, so it's definitely something I can help you with because I'm right here in Indian Land. I don't know where in South Carolina you're calling from, but I'm going to put my contact up information up here. This is something that's very, very important to me, and I would love the opportunity to help you with this as best as I can. So here's my information. I don't know where McCormick is compared to Indian Land. I'm relatively new down here, but again, maybe we could do something on Zoom, and we can talk about that too. Um, but it definitely, I think, can help you if every step of the walk, guys. If we do it, us being calm, teaching them to be calm. That means every inch, every foot, every yard of that walk is based on calm. You will have success. And again, I use my dog Zoe as an example, and it's not because she's my dog. I put the effort into my dog. I put a lot of effort into working with my dog Zoe. We walk around this complex here, um, and dogs bark at her so much. You know, Kinga, again, I hope I'm saying it right. Please text me at that number or email me at info at Back to Basics Dog Training. I'd love to help you out with this a little bit if I can. Um, when we walk around our complex, there's probably about 50 to 75 other dogs in this complex, and there's dogs barking behind their windows. There's dogs barking on the terraces. There's dogs barking at us on leash when they're on leash. And Zoe just looks at me like, what the hell are they doing? But I've worked on this since Zoe was 6 weeks old, 8 weeks old. When I got her home, I started leash training her right away. I can't stress to you folks how important mastering the walk is. The best way I can say it, in my honest opinion, if everybody learns how to master the walk, that means having that calm, controlled walk that you guys all want, I want, you want, your dog wants. A lot of the dog training business is done with because a lot of unwanted behaviors will stop once your dog understands there's a new structure and leadership in town. All of a sudden, you're going to see dogs that normally dig yards up stop digging yards up. Why? Because they're going to be mentally challenged doing this master and the walk back to basic style. So they're not going to have they're not going to have that frustration as, I got all this mental energy, what do I do? So they dig up your yard. No, that stops. You see a lot of unwanted behavior stop once you learn how to master the walk. And that's why I think the walk is so important. That's why I'm putting this out there for you guys, because I really do think it will help you. One, you should enjoy the walk with your dog. You should learn how to walk with your dog, not walk a dog. Walking a dog is work and it sucks. Walking with my dog is enjoyable. It is the most, I use it as my Zen time, guys. Reality, that's what I do. So, again, guys, if any other questions, of course, I'll be happy to answer them. Anybody who wants a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, please, you can text me your email address or email me at info at Back to Basics Dog Training, or just message me through Back to Basics Dog Training SC on Facebook, and I will be happy to email you a copy of the presentation. Hopefully, you guys can join me again, not this Saturday morning, the following Saturday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for my free dog training seminar. And anybody who's interested in maybe having a one-on-one, either in-person session, one-on-one Zoom, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you. So with that being said, guys, as always, stay healthy, stay safe, And remember, if I can find it, together we can help one dog and one family at a time. Guys, thank you for inviting me into your home tonight. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And hopefully we'll see you on my Saturday morning coffee with Back to Basics. Have a great evening, guys.